com. The stream is live. You see, that's how it's supposed to work every time. We're excited. Yes, this is a Tuesday, but we're still going to call it Money Monday because I know a lot of you tuned into Eric's amazing Zoom yesterday. If you missed it, well, snooze, you lose. Just kidding. We'll send out the replay once it's available. But I'm really excited because I've got an individual on today that has not only crushed it in her business, as a mom, as a person that, has more interests outside of her business, right? She's not just building a business, but she's built a huge business and she's done it more than once. And she's a top enroller and she's really good at the Facebook. How many of us still use the Facebook? Why do I call it the Facebook? Because number one, it's funny. Number two, that's what they used to call it. How many of you ever seen that social networking movie about Facebook? It started off as being called the Facebook. So anywho, Beth Brannan, I'm excited to have you here today. We're going to rock everyone's world with your story, what you've had to overcome, raising kids, doing all the things, going out there and building businesses. And the thing that I love about you is you're just so authentic, right? You show up on social media, you keep it 100. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, right? Mm-hmm. They're like afraid to share their real story or share their real truth. And I also understand it because you also, to some extent, you want to, show up as a professional and you want to be diplomatic and you want to be, all the things that matter. You want to have some posture, right? But at the same time, if people feel like you're putting on a facade or you're fake, that's not going to attract people. If they feel like you're super spammy, super pushy, super desperate. How many of us have done some dating in the past? Now, it's been a while. For me, it's been a while, but I remember the dating game. And if you came on too strong, like if I would have done that with Nadia, with how aggressive she was back then, she would have been like, oh, I'm not interested. So you got to play the game a little bit, right? You got to have some skills. You got to have some communication skills, but also you got to be a really good storyteller. And I know for some of us, that's a little tough in the beginning. I know for some of us, posting on social media feels weird, or as my kids would call it, cringy. So we're going to talk about how to attract people, how to show up on social, how to recruit 1,000 people leveraging Facebook like Beth has over the years. And she hasn't, again, built a business just once. She's done it multiple times because she's had to. How many of us have had to start all over before, right? But before we get into all that, Beth, I was really hoping you could share a little bit about your story. We were talking beforehand, and you have such a powerful story. And, I don't know how detailed you want to get or how deep you want to go, but I do know that a lot of people have maybe a troubled background, or they've been through some things in their upbringing or in relationships, or, maybe they had some bad experiences in other businesses, whatever that looks like. We've all been through some ish. So maybe you could start off just sharing with everyone, first of all, a little bit about your story and your background, and then we'll get into some of the tips and insights and lessons you've learned over the years.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So I'm back. My story, John. Oh, God. Okay. So I actually left school, went into hairdressing. So as most girls do in the UK, beauty and hair was something that I was interested in. It was the only thing that I was really interested in leaving school. So I went out of school, went straight into hairdressing. Quite a big established business within the UK as well. Went on to do my apprenticeship, earning £90 a week back then, which completely scares the hell out of me now. And little after this, at 16 years old, my mum passed away. So again, for a lot of people, I've had a lot of curveballs kind of hit me since leaving school, really. And back then it was really scary. It was hard. I had to kind of learn to be an adult without a parent, and it was tough. But now looking back, it kind of molded me into the person I am. So I don't like seeing it as like a bad thing. It's more of a thing that's helped me grow and become responsible and all of that kind of thing. But a little after that, I had my first child. So I was a teen mom. I was a very young mom, even though, looking back, I think, how on earth did I even cope? I've got a nearly 13-year-old. And I'm like, I can't even cope with her. She's just absolutely, she is the sass on sass. So I had a baby. I was a single parent within a year. So me and her partner, me and her dad split up. I was then having to run a house, have a baby, earn an income. I was a hairdresser part-time, went freelance. it wasn't working. You know, childcare was covering literally all of my income without having to then spend out on food and nappies and milk and rent and whatever else that I was having to do.
Can I just
So
say, I love that they're called nappies. Just wanted to say.
oh, what diapers you call them, right?
Nappies sounds so much better than diapers. Anyway.
Yeah, so all of that kind of stuff. And I was on my own. I was thinking, what am I going to do?
Right.
So my mom, right, and this is the funny bit, my mom did Avon. So I was always kind of helping her with the Avon books and delivering things. So I was always kind of brought up around extra income. She had it as a little cat fund. She was obsessed with British short hairs. So she used the income for like vet's bills and things like that. And I was the one getting drenched on my bike after school, like delivering all the catalogue. So I was always familiar with side hustles, I suppose, kind of being brought up. And I got involved with my first network marketing company at the age of 19. So I was, again, really, really young. It was very, very different. It wasn't something that I ever imagined turning into a full-time income. And I kind of dabbled with it for a little while. I ended up having my second child. Unfortunately, this is kind of where my story took a bit of a deep turn, and I'm not going to go over it into much detail because I know it can be a trigger for some women, but I went through domestic violence. I still can't really talk about it because it's still really difficult. My daughter I had to fight for in courts for custody. It was just terrible.
Your second child you had to fight
my
for.
Second.
While you're raising another. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I got my eldest, single parent, you know, went through all of that, had Felicity, and all hell broke loose. And I was just in a place where it was dark. It was really dark. And I honestly thought, I don't know how I'm going to pull through this. So that's when the knuckles, you know, the gloves came on, and I was like, I got to fight. I've got to do something, because if I don't, I'm going to end up having 2 children on my own, no income, not being able to do anything on benefits in the UK isn't what I wanted to do. You know, fine for whatever, but for me, it wasn't an option. So that's when I went really deep into network marketing. And I fought hard, and I went on to earn 7 figures. Never in a million years thought that would be me, because I am the person, and people watching this that know me from school and know me for me and friends and family. My dad watches these and he's like, Beth, how have you done it? I'm like, I don't know. But you know what? It taught
Isn't that the best? Isn't that the best though? The people that knew you before,
yes,
are like, "How is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's weird. I know." People listen to me.
Yeah. It's weird because they're like, Beth, you left school with no GCSEs. Like when obviously I lost mum, it made me really shy, introverted, didn't want to see anybody, battling with, 16. I was coming into adulthood and I got no idea what I was doing. And that's when you really need a mum, right? And it was just how people look at me now. I'm like, I honestly, I think it was just fight or flight for me. It was make or break. And I had to choose, and I was a mum, and I didn't really have much choice then. So yeah, that's kind of my story, which has led me to you ultimately at the end. And now I've been here for, 16 months.
Crushing it. Now, let me ask you this. Was there a certain event that you went to? Was there a certain person that got you to go, wait a second, what am I doing playing with this thing? Like, this could be the thing that could get me out of my situation, and not only create the financial, the finances that I need, the financial upside, but then also the flexibility to raise my kids. Like, what was it that light bulb that went off for you, that experience?
I actually went to an event to Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, and I sat in the audience, and I remember sitting there thinking, I should not be in this room. Like, this is crazy. And it was the feeling that I came out, and I went in like this and I came out like this, like the passion and the energy. And I think that's the one thing about me. And I've just asked my husband, I was like, if you could tell me one thing as to the reason why I've built this business, what would it be? And he was like, energy. It's your energy. It's the passion.
So true.
Yeah. And I think that was the turning point for me. I was like, I am playing too small. Like, I need to seriously forget what everybody else is saying, not worry about the naysayers and the haters and what everybody else thinks. And I just got to run. And I did.
Did you know how much potential you had? Like, did you know, like, deep inside, like, man, if I went all in, what could I do with this? Did you know? Did you realize that?
Yeah, I think so. I think because I'm a people's person and I understand relationship building, you know, as Fraser says, it's turning strangers into friends with
Mm,
network marketing. And
yep.
that's me. Like, I will speak to anyone. I am not afraid of chatting to anyone. And I love helping people. And I think that's kind of where this all stems from. If I can help one person genuinely, and I know people say this and it's cringe, but genuinely the best inbox messages that I get is, Beth, I've been able to earn such and such to pay for such and such. And that's what drives me forward. So I think deep down, even though I had a lot of barriers and I had a lot of things that I needed to break through, more personal self-development than anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember sitting in the seats early on and just being like, man, I just like, I feel like I can figure this thing out, but
Yeah.
something wasn't clicking. And truthfully, it was almost like, I feel like God was like, nah, if you make that much money early on, you're going to be a problem. Like I
Mm,
needed to like overcome some insecurities. I need to quit drinking. Drinking for me was always a problem. You know, some people can drink and nothing bad happens. For me, it was like 50% of the time something bad happened. So, you know, it was almost like I was meant to go through some ish
mm,
because number one, you know, it's interesting when it's harder to achieve success, when it takes longer, you have so much more appreciation, right?
yeah.
And I think one problem that a lot of people have is they're so focused on their own problems. They're so focused on, they're selfish, right? They're like,
Mm,
I need to make money. I need to get,
yeah.
this thing going. I need to rank advance. I need to recruit some people. I need to get better. I. And it's like, yeah, you do need to get better. Yeah, you do need to get some customers. And yeah, you do need to figure out social media and you got to get better at building relationships. But the sooner you turn on that switch of like, it's not about me, it's about who I can serve, who I can impact, how my story, how my business, how my product can help them with their problem. So I started selling the solution. I started listening to people. God gave us 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. Like, go figure. And it really is like, if you can figure out people, you'll never worry about money again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe you could talk about for people that are like, okay, yeah, sounds good. What do I do? How do I show up? What do I do to get things going so I can start to build some new relationships, so I can find some better people? Because I will say most of us don't start off with like a super awesome warm market. Sounds like you didn't either. I know a lot of my warm market. I mean, it's like I knew a lot of people, but then like, a lot of those people like knew me, you know what I'm saying? So they were like,
Yeah.
nah, good luck with that, John. So what was it for you that started to work and still today would be something you would recommend for people that want to branch out? They want to start, attracting different people and having a different, image, if you will, on social media.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I actually an old live of mine popped up this morning. Oh my God, my hands were in my head was in my hands. I was like, what on earth is this? It's terrible. But I think for me, like you said, going back, growth is important. Like if I just came into this and was successful, I wouldn't
Mm,
know half what I know now. Like going through those struggles has led me to where I'm at. So, okay, what did I do back then? Number one, I knew exactly what you said. My problems I shared openly on social media and I searched for the solution to that problem and I shared it once I'd found it. So for me personally, weight loss was a big thing. I'd had a baby at 19, I'd gained 5 stone, I was heavy, I needed to lose weight, I wasn't fit, I wasn't happy in myself. So for me coming in, it's finding your niche market and your target
mm,
audience 100%. You need to really knuckle down on what it is that you're wanting to achieve and who you can help in the process. Because I always say to my team, if you cast the net too wide or you just sell something because it's available and it
right.
really doesn't have any grit to you, you don't care about it, you don't use it, you're going to find it really, really hard to build a 6-7 figure business plus, right? So for me, I love how I say right as well, like you guys in the States. I'm starting to sound like an American with the whole right. We don't say that in the UK. It's your fault. So I was like, I need to find a product to help me lose weight. So I started to take product, lose weight, start to share it openly, start using the demonstrations. Facebook Live with my best friend back then. At the beginning, we didn't have it, which is like now showing how old like we've both. Like, it's scary
Right.
to think that everything was just on posts. So as soon as lives came out, even though they freaked me out, and I used to shake when it used to count down the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I was like shaking like a leaf. I just did it because that was the best way for me to share my story, me being real, my journey, because people buy people, right?
Mm.
So for me, I was like, I need to show who I am now and where I'm going. And people saw the growth. Like, they were saying, Beth, you're a lot more confident, like you're changing, I can see the weight loss. And that's how I started to build. But Facebook for me is by far the best platform that I've really focused on to kind of gain those relationships and rapport with people over the amount of years through different posts, you know, reels, carousels, you've got your live, just all the different tools and techniques that you can use. I'm the first one that's, even though I don't know how they work, I'm going to do it just so that I can kind of branch out and gain a bigger audience.
And would you say you're pretty organized, like pretty methodical? Like, do you have like a repertoire? Like, all right, I'm going to do 3 Facebook Lives. Here's my schedule.
Yeah.
Or is it kind of like off the cuff, like what you're feeling? Like, what does that look like for you? Because I know
It,
everybody's different. And, you know, I'm not saying there's one way that's better than another, but I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Okay, so honesty, right? At the beginning, it was chaos. I had sticky notes all over my house. Need to do this. Need to. I was a single parent. I physically couldn't be structured because I didn't know whether the baby was going to be sick or I needed to change her or it was crazy, right? And
You need to
obviously
go and
with
get
a lot
some nappies. Yeah.
and with court as well, I was in court, I was in meetings. Like, I physically couldn't be as structured because my life was just chaos. Now, with scheduled posts, being able to have the access to schedule things now, yes. Back then, beginning my business, even in the midst of 7 figures, no, not all the time. It was just as and when. I'll do it when I can. I knew what I needed to do in a day. I knew that I needed to show up. I knew that I needed to be persistent. I knew that I needed to constantly add to my network and make connections and build friendships. But you know, it was as and when for a long time. But now, yes, because obviously having the team, yeah.
It is interesting too, because once you get the hang of it, like,
It's
you're almost
habit.
like, you have like so much you could post, so much you could
Yeah.
talk about. Then it becomes like, I like what Nadia will say sometimes. She'll say, you know, sometimes you have like the curse of knowledge. It's like, you know, so much, you have so much to share, but you don't want to overwhelm someone. You don't want to overwhelm your audience. So you're like trying to find like little conversations, a little story, a little example, you know, 3 tips on this, or, you know, maybe it's not even a video, it's a post, right? And you're just sharing something, and you just never know what's going to hit. You never know what's going to, you know, spark someone's interest, and they're going to go, you know what, I like her, I like him, I like how they show up, I like their personality. And now that person, because they like you, right? Sometimes we hear people say no like trust, you got to build no like trust, and people are not listening. They're like hearing it. You ever seen White Man Can't Jump? It's an older movie, right? He's like you're hearing me, but you're not listening to me, you're not actually listening to what I'm telling you. But when people like you, when they like your story, they like your personality, they like your videos, like when you do promote something, they're like, you know what, I trust her, I like her, I'm curious, I want to learn more. And that is such a big piece of posting content. And again, you got to do it in a way that's authentic. So what would you tell someone, right? Because they're like, okay, I want to be authentic, what should I start doing? Should I just start doing live videos? Should I start doing posts? Like, what if I'm like terrified of video? Should I do it anyway? What would you say there?
100% do it anyway. Like, you need to just put yourself out there. You've got to grow. And I think if you're going to keep this is what I say to people all the time, the biggest person standing in the way of you and success 9 times out of 10 is you. Like, you just have to get out of your own head. The amount of people, and I always say, you can never say the wrong thing to the right person anyway, right? Like, you have to be yourself, you have to trust your instincts, you have to use your story. Your story is the most powerful thing that is going to help somebody relate from where they are to where you are. And for me, if I was to just go out there and start spamming products and spamming business, that's not me. Like, that's not who I am. My company is not who I am. I am the person that they're coming to for help in the mentor side and to help build a business on social media. But 9 times out of 10, people don't go to the company, they go to you. So you've got to be the person that's out there sharing who you are, how you can help. I do a lot of So when I'm speaking to people, I don't like overcomplicating things, because my niche market are going to be similar to me, right? So for me, I'm a really simple soul. I can't overcomplicate things, because I genuinely do get really confused. So when I'm speaking to people and I'm posting things, I'm posting it in a really simple form that people understand, rather than this language that people just don't get, especially if they're not in your industry. So 100%, you've got to throw yourself out there. You've got to be real. You've got to share your story, let people see the growth, and let people come on the journey with you, because then that intrigues them even more as to how you've grown, how you've gone from A to B. And they're going to start thinking, well, you know, if she's done it, then I can do it too, because they've seen you at your starting point.
Yeah. No, it's so powerful. And it's so simple too, because, you know, with reels and even posts, like, you have to really think through it. You got to, like, you know, but when you hit that live button, man, it's like, all right, here we go. I'm live.
Yeah.
Like, just start talking. Whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I think because before lives existed, we would do pre-recorded videos, which now I guess you would call those short form videos or reels. But back then it was just like you would pre-record a video and upload it. And it's funny because I remember I'd record a video and be like, that sucked. Or, you know, I kind of like didn't do the call to action. So I'd like start all over or whatever. And then it was like, once lives came out, I was like, all right, you just hit the live button. Now, of course, you want a little headline, you want a little, you know, topic that like you're going to, you know, focus on. But it was interesting because you'd be like, I'm just going to do a 5-minute video real quick. And then like 50 minutes later, you're still talking. You got like 200 people on. Now, I know a lot of us are going to say 200 people. This was back in the early days of Facebook Live. Like, there wasn't that much competition, and people would just watch for, you know, 50 minutes while you're talking and sharing tips and stories and blah, 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 blah. But it really is interesting how simple it could be. If you just said, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself to go live for 5 minutes every day for 14 days and literally stick to it. Because sometimes we think it has to be like a 30-minute video, a 50-minute video. I don't have that much to share, but 5 minutes, anybody can talk for 5 minutes, and it's cool because you'll start to get some responses. You'll start to see kind of like what people are interested in and what you like talking about. Now, I want to transition this conversation. So let's say somebody starts telling their story. They start doing the lives. They're putting up the posts. And, you know, some people will say, oh, the algorithm, or, you know, it's harder to get attention. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go look at my posts or you go look at Beth's post, you'll see like some of our posts do well and some of them don't. It just is what it is. But people are still on Facebook. They're still scrolling. You're watching this right now. Right. So people do still watch videos. It's just like, let me try to not be boring. Let me try to find things that are interesting for me to share that people get value from. But like you said, I really want to touch on this is energy, right? Having energy, having that enthusiasm, as Nadia would say. So my question is, on the back end, what does that look like, right? You start getting some likes, some follows, some comments, right? Maybe you start to get a little bit of engagement from people and you're like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I transition that into a recruiting conversation?
Talk. This is what I keep saying to people, like, use your mouth. Like, we all can talk, speak to people, ask questions. Like, the more questions that you ask, the more you get to know, and the more you can listen to what it is that they need, right? Instead of being like, oh my God, I've got someone on my inbox, and then it's like verbal diarrhea. That does not work. You've not listened to them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their problems are. You've just put into their inbox what you want, because you want them to join, because you're going to get paid from it. That is not, I just think it's terrible. I still get it, John, now. And I'm like, whoa, you haven't even spoken to me. You don't know anything about me. Like, I don't want to know about your business until you know that it's something at least that is going to fit in with my life that I'm going to be interested in. So if I start to get people that are like watching my stories, are the biggest thing for me, John, right now.
Ooh, okay, good. That's great. I like that.
I go through my stories, I look at the viewers, and I start conversations with them, even if it's just a, hey, thanks for viewing my story. Lovely to connect. Have an amazing day. Something so simple.
But isn't it funny? Isn't it funny what you just said? You just said, thanks for viewing my story. How are you? Like,
simple.
People are like, what do I say if someone's watching my stories? Like, thanks for watching my story.
Exactly. But this is what I mean. People overcomplicate things. It's the same with content. What do I post? I'm like, really, like if you go on, I don't know, Pinterest, Etsy, you'll see like graphics and what you can post, ideas for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Get into a routine. Like it's not hard. It's where people overcomplicate things because they think that they're not good enough to be doing. You just need to talk. You seriously just need to talk to people. Open a conversation, let them ask you questions. Hopefully it's going to lead to, well, what do you do? I'm interested. And this is where a lot of the back work comes in for me, because that's great. But if your posts don't reflect any sort of enthusiasm or success or business, what are they going to ask you? So instead of thinking, right, I've got to have conversations with people, make sure your profile's good enough first, right? Because your profile is your shop front. And for me, if someone's going to ask me about the business, they're going to look at my profile first. And the first few posts, if they're flat, if I've not posted for weeks, your audience have got nothing to ask you anyway. So making sure that you've got a good profile, then start reaching out to people that are viewing your stories. They're going to go and look at your posts. Then hopefully those questions are going to come in.
I like that. What would be some of your tips in regards to updating your profile? Is it like profile picture, bio, just the content itself? Like, what would you say there?
So I have a pinned post and I change that quite often because people like to keep updated with my story. So a lot of people now, they're only going to, it's like, what is it, like 2 seconds that you've got to capture someone's interest. So I always have a pinned post at the top so people can literally just get hooked in. It's like a caption, is it? Hooked in, be able to read a little bit about me. My profile is, my bio is on there. It shows what I can help you with, who I am, and things that you're going to be able to relate with if you're my kind of person. My profile picture is of me, not a dog or a horse or whatever. It's of me, and my background, whatever you call it, your
cover photo.
Yeah. Baby brain, even though she's 5. Cover photo is again, right, of me away. So it goes to show the lifestyle that I lead. So I think your profile, your shop front is so important, and you need to keep updating that. Yes.
How often would you encourage someone to talk about their business or their products? And how would you do live videos, stories, reels? I would love to hear your perspective on that. And by the way, those of you watching, this is really important to write down because, what works for me is different than what works for Beth or the next person I interview, right? You got to figure out what works for you. But this is why I bring on all these rock stars so you can hear different insights and perspectives. And whether it's, Eric Worre, who's been in the profession longer than Beth's been alive, right? Or someone like Beth, who's leveraged Facebook, not TikTok, not Instagram, not these other YouTube, right? She's just leveraging Facebook and has recruited 1,000 people. In how many years, by the way?
I've been in for 13 years, but for the last 9 years, I've been hardcore. So I recruited 1,000 people. I think it was in about 2 years I'd recruited 1,000 people. I did it quite quickly.
Insane. So, I mean, does everyone see like how, and look, she just said it didn't happen instantly. It wasn't right out of the gate, but she kept working on herself, developing skills while building relationships. So anyway, so I'd like to hear that. What's that blend for you?
Okay, every day. Do you know what? The biggest thing that for me that gains interest, obviously having a good product is key, right? Having a product that's intriguing. And I mean, I'm not here to talk company, but chocolate on a spoon for me just works, right? People are like, what on earth is that? So every single morning I'm on my stories. I'm a mom, right? So I'm not going to look glam every morning. Sometimes I'm in my pajamas and my hair is scraped on top of my head. I don't care what people think, right? Because this is me. This is my profile. If people don't like me, then they'll go and find someone else. And that's absolutely fine by me. So every morning I've got my spoon, if you've, different product, whatever, and I take it and I show and demonstrate my morning routine every single day on a story, and I'll use a poll or a questions box to allow people to speak to me, because some people are so scared. Like I've got people on Facebook that'll say, I've been following you for 9 years, and I'm like, what? Like you should have just spoken to me. I'm too scared. So it gives them that poll so that all they've got to do is click it, and then I can then go into their inbox and speak to them. So every single day I'm on my stories, and it's my face, because look, now everything's AI. It's not even real. Like people want a conversation with a human, right? And they want to be able to know that you're real. So my face, my voice, every single day on stories, I'm taking products or I'm sharing my journey, whether it's walking the dog, whether it's picking the kids up from school. There'll be business in there, but there'll also be my daily routine that people are going to pick up on and say, well, I do the school run. I've seen her business post, but I do the school run. I've got children. How does she do all of this?
Right.
And that kind of opens. Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're like a normal person. Like,
yes.
Yeah, I have kids and responsibilities and other things I'm interested in and hobbies and all the things. Like, I know that's crazy, but you can have it all. And it's interesting because I was talking to Michelle Churchill the other day, and she was saying how she's like, I don't understand why people don't just like show them like putting the powder in the product or the trim on the spoon. It looks like pudding. Like, she's like, I don't know why people don't do this. I don't know why people don't show like them preparing the products. Or so what she's been doing recently, she's been going live in the morning making breakfast. And she's like, taking her products, making breakfast, talking, answering questions. She's like, I got 35 customers from one live video.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing that. And that's the thing. You test things out. Maybe your live videos in the evenings. Maybe they're during your lunch break. Maybe you have a weekly show, right? You figure out what works. How are you going to show up in your stories? And, I like what you said. Every day I show my products. Every day I'm talking to my network of people. And some people are afraid because they're like, well, I don't want to turn people off. Like, this tells me you don't believe in what you're doing. Because if you believe in what you're doing, why would you keep it a secret? Why wouldn't you tell people about the product that's changed your life? Now, you might say, well, product hasn't changed my life. Yeah, I just got started on the product. Okay, well, share other people's stories. Share other people's before and afters. Like, you don't have to use your story. Like, I've sold a ton of our 5-day drop, our lean body system, or, the UK body transformation system, right? Like, I've sold a ton of that. But I never had like a big weight loss story. So, you don't necessarily have to be a product of all the products. Now, you should be a product of some of the products, and the ones you're most passionate about, the ones like, I drink 2 cups of the collagen coffee every morning. It's my favorite product. So it's easier for you to talk about it. So you find ways to show up and connect, relate, create content that's going to resonate with people. And by the way, one of the best ways you can do this, talk about your problems. Talk about the problems you either have or had, because most people that have those same problems, when you say, here's the solution I found, they're going to be like, well, what is it? Tell me more. It's amazing how simple that is.
And it's not, when people say, I get the question of, well, do people not get bored? I'm like, well, seriously, you're missing out, because it's not that people get bored, it's that you should be speaking and adding and connecting with new people every day. So those people are not going to see the stories from last week because they weren't connected. So it's not that people are going to get bored or that you shouldn't, I've shared my story so many times because people are not going to scroll down 500 posts to find out who I am. So you've got to constantly keep reintroducing yourself and be on my arm right here. It says unapologetically myself. Like, that is my mantra. Like, you've just got to go for it. No one's going to do it for you, right? This industry is huge, and you've got to take responsibility for that, and you've got to show up, and you've got to find ways of doing it. And the only way that you're going to do that is by trial and error. Like, I failed at so many different things, and I like what I like, and I know what I like, and I do that, literally. And that's taken me years to find it, but it's just keeping things simple. Like, show up, do the things, speak to your audience, let them be part of the growth, have fun, which is another big thing. People do companies out of loyalty, and I'm like, no, like, you've got to love what you're doing. Like, people know real, and if you're just showing up for the sake of it, your posts are going to be boring. Like, you've got to be having fun with what it is that you're doing, and that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because it's hard.
There's a big difference. You're right. It's simple, not easy. Right. Good point. And it's funny, I always say, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, 100%. Like, you should be having fun. It's all growth, and there's no limit on this, and this is why I love it. Like, there's no one telling you what you can achieve. You'll achieve the actions that you're putting in. And there was a thing that I watched years ago, and it was, you can't swim with one arm. Like, you can't keep doing all of the things, and you've got to change, and you've got to learn, and self-development. And I've loved it because it's allowed me to be the person that I am today. And without this industry, I'd be cutting hair, which, all kudos to hairdressers. It's a brilliant career. But for me, I knew that I could achieve more. And if it wasn't for this, I'd still be there, and I'd be miserable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for me, I'd probably be dead or in jail, quite honestly. Network marketing. If I didn't meet Nadia and find personal development and, have something else to get like addicted to or I get obsessed with, like Greg Cardone says, he's like, be obsessed or be average. And he's like, the reason I became so successful because I used to be like addicted to drugs and partying. And then I just found something that I was like, oh, so I could put that energy, right?
Yeah.
I could put that attention into something that actually like helps other people and, I get wealthy doing it. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty much me. I was just bored. Like I just had nothing else going on, nothing else I was excited about. I had no vision for where I wanted to go. And then you find network marketing, you're like, wow, like, can I really be successful? And then you have like little bitty goals. You're like, if I could just make like 5 a month, if I could just make enough money. For me, it was like to not wait tables. For you, it was to like not cut hair, right? And probably like instead of daycare, have mommy care, like you be the one raising your kids, so everyone's got to find that reason. And for me too, I don't know if this motivated you, Beth, but this really motivated me. I had a lot of like naysayers, a lot of haters.
Oh,
they were bathing in the haterade, in those early days. And I was like, you know what? I can't let them be right.
No, yes, that's me.
So I'm gonna let them be right, but I'm gonna go get rich. So, those are pyramid schemes. You might be right. Those things don't work. You might be right. You should get a real job. You might be right. Just let them be right. And then I went and got rich. And then, the funny thing is a lot of those people, guess what? They're basically where like the way I look at it is that if I would have listened to them, I would have been buying their opinion.
Yeah.
And then I would be living their lifestyle, living check to check. How many people do we know? Think about it. Those of you watching this, how many people do you know that hate what they do, or they hate their boss, or they have more month than money? Like if I would have bought their opinion, I'd have bought their lifestyle. And I would have their bank account. I would have their lack of freedom and their lack of passion for going to work every day. Like that to me is sad. And there's a lot of people that allow other people's opinions to affect them. And thank God you didn't, Beth. Thank God I didn't. Thank God we didn't listen to those people. But did that motivate you at all in the early days? Just curious.
100%. I had so much. Honestly, the UK is the worst place for it. I'm sure it is. Like it was constant. The amount of messages and people like screen recording and at one point it got to me. It did. And I know that people will feel the same way. It does, because you think, oh my God, I don't like the thought of anyone talking. But then I just thought, you know what? I changed. I cut the cord on so many people, and I had to. And unfortunately, some people were even in the family circle. I never cut them off, but I had to stop listening to certain things that they were saying. My dad was probably watching this. And he was like, babe, in the UK, we all call each other babe, just cut hair. You're really good at hairdressing. And he's probably watching this now. That was my dad, right? And now he's like, I'm dead proud of you. And I'm like, well, if I'd have listened to you in the beginning, you wouldn't be proud of me because I'd be miserable.
And, in his defense, he probably thought he was like protecting you. Right.
Yeah.
I remember my mom, she's like, oh, be careful, and it's like, don't get your hopes up. And it's like the worst advice. Right.
Yeah.
But I respect it because I'm like, she didn't know any better. Right.
No. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But looking back, it's like, thank God we didn't listen.
I know I didn't listen.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's not good, is it, not listening to your parents? But I didn't. And you've got to change your circle of influence. Like even you and Michelle, I've followed you for years. And I think looking back, like it is on social media. If I open my social media in the morning and it was like people that were just complaining, I'd wake up with like, my brain would just be frazzled of negativity. So I changed all of that. And I was adding Eric and I was adding all the top networkers. Even though I was nowhere near their level, I opened my Facebook and it was what people were doing, the lifestyle, the positivity, the energy, the self-development. Les Brown was like my mantra for years. His voice just rattled my insides. Like I just changed so much, but my circle of influence being probably the main thing that got me to kind of switch. Yeah.
That is such a good point. Sometimes we should almost like incorporate that in our like onboarding training, like delete all your negative Nancy's.
Yeah.
Delete all the people you never want to work with anyway, because there's no point in having those people in your network because they bring no value. But at the same time, start following this account, that account, this person, that person. because
Well, I do.
that's how my social media looks. That's why I don't like going on Twitter or X now, whatever it's called, because it's like all negative, just posts and videos. And I'm like, I get triggered. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to do something. And I'm like, no, we don't. I don't even want that in my head, my brain, my mind. I want to go like follow positive people that are out there making a difference in the world and inspiring others, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to inspire other people. And you know, it's interesting because now I've got this like multi-million-dollar business. I got all these amazing people on my team. People are like, who inspires you now, John? And you know, there's some people obviously I follow just like anybody else, but honestly, my team inspires the heck out of me. And it really is such a powerful thing when you know, because you mentioned this in the very beginning of this interview, like you have people on your team that reach out to you and they're like, thank you, because of you, I can now pay off my, you know, student loans, or I can pay for groceries, or I can, you know, put my kids in private school. Like that to me is so powerful. Someone being able to quit their job or retire their spouse from like the police force, like those stories. That's why I show up every day. That's why I play big every day, because I know how this profession impacted my life. And it really is like character development or personal development with a compensation plan attached. So it's like the more you grow yourself and grow your mindset and your skills and your network, the more money you make. And it's a direct correlation of the impact and the amount of people you've served and helped. And those negative Nancys, typically those people, they're talking about you because they're jealous. They're talking about you because they couldn't do it. And you know what? A lot of those people, quite honestly, you know, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for people that they want to, you know, tear down others and they want to bash other people. Now, listen, there are some people that deserve to be bashed. There's some bad people out there. I get that. But in a lot of cases, it's just they're jealous. They're envious of what you're going out and do, because if you go out and do it, if you go out and make things happen, what's their excuse? Because they're like, well, Beth, I grew up with you and I know you and you're this and you're that. And it's like, okay, you might be right, but at least I'm not staying stuck. At least I'm not making excuses. At least I decided to take a chance and have some courage and do more with my life. And I think that's really inspiring, especially with everything you've been through, and for you to come out on the other side of it, like literally nobody should be hating on you. Now that's also because they don't know you. And again, they're jealous. But when people understand what we've been through and what we've had to do to accomplish this amount of success, and they hear the full story, they're like, oh, and this is why. And I heard this from Ray Higdon one time. Ray Higdon's like, you can't just talk about your success if you never talk about where you came from, because then all you're doing is bragging. But when you show people, like I did a post earlier, I don't know if you saw it, humble beginnings. And it's like a horrible picture that Nadia took in our apartment.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. And it's just a horrible picture, but it shows people, they're like, oh, damn, like they had that little crappy apartment 20 years ago. And it's like, yeah, that's how we started, you know? So it's all about inspiring others. It's all about legacy. It's all about impact. And you start to realize again, that it's not about you. So anyway, any closing thoughts for people that are wanting to recruit 1,000 people like you on Facebook? They're wanting to get out there. They're wanting to, you know, get better. Any closing thoughts that you would suggest to those people?
Be consistent, right? Just get a goal, make a decision. The first thing, right? Like you've got to make a decision and you got to stick to it, because it's not going to be easy. And I think people make this decision that they think is a decision, and then 5 minutes later they've changed their minds because it's a little bit harder than. So come in with an a decent thought of, you know, this isn't going to be an easy thing to do, but it's going to be something that can impact and change your life. And you can dream of everything. You know, I never thought I'd move to Spain. I literally picked up the kids 3 years ago and we all moved to Spain. I'd retired Steve. The kids were in a private school. It was crazy. Like, I never thought that was possible. So make a decision, literally make a decision that you're going to stand by on the hard days. On the good days, you need to bottle up all of the energy, right? You need to watch people, you need to bottle up that emotion, and then you got to use it on the days that you're feeling like crap, right? So open that lid, let it all come out and let it inspire you, because there are going to be days that you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And you've got to sometimes recalibrate, unplug to come back. You know, it's one of those things. But I think if you're thinking about it, make a decision, come up with a plan, find somebody that inspires you, create a little goal, you know, things that are going to be things that you can do in the starting times, right? Rather than overloading and coming up with this crazy plan that you're never going to stick to. Start small, get some little goals, achieve them, and find someone that can help you do it is kind of, yeah, what I would say.
Yeah, that is so true, right? Finding a mentor, finding someone that you can
Mhm.
learn from, someone that's going to support you. And, I don't know what
You
I would
need it.
in those early days without mentorship and without having like a team around me. Because when you're with a team, when you're in this environment where everybody's kind of working together, there
Yeah.
really is something so special about that. And it's
Yeah.
rare because, in most careers or jobs, it doesn't work that way. It's like, yeah, we work at the same company, but like you have your job, I have my job. Like we
Yeah.
don't benefit one another here. It's like your mentor has a vested interest in your success, right? Like they
Yeah.
want you to grow, they want you to win, they want you to succeed. And I love when people are like, I'm gonna out recruit you, I'm gonna outsell, I'm gonna earn you, I'm cool, kick my butt. Like
Well,
I
yeah.
will help you do it. I will help you do it. Anyway,
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Beth. You're amazing. You're so inspiring. And I love, that you've not only gone out there and had a lot of success, but you're willing to share, you're willing to help. And I know your team's on fire. I know it's exciting to see duplication. It's like a real thing, right? It's
Yeah.
a real thing that you can create. You can create that duplication. You can create success and, help other people and still raise your children. And
Yeah.
like the fact that you were able to just get up and move to Spain, like so cool. We still want to. I was talking to a guy earlier. I'm like, there's so many parts of Spain that I want to visit. I'm like, we just need to spend like a whole month in Spain and just travel.
Yeah, it's huge.
So
Yeah,
beautiful.
it
Well,
is. It's amazing.
congratulations.
But it just goes to show, doesn't it, what you can achieve when you put your mind to it. And you just got to let go of all your insecurities and you've just got to put faith in yourself. They say, if you believe in yourself, you're 50% of the way there. And I definitely think that is true. Yeah. So just get out your way and go for it.
I love it. You're the best. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for having me on, John.
Absolutely. Yo, if you love Beth, make sure you follow her here on Facebook. Drop a comment. Let us know your biggest takeaway. And Beth, again, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing. You rock.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.